Hello and welcome to We Will Manage, the podcast exploring the weird and wonderful world of work. We're two young professionals figuring out our careers one conversation at a time. And today we're talking about imposter syndrome.
So stick around to discover why superhumans suffer the most, how you're definitely not the only imposter in the room, and whether you really are a fraud. It's such a perfect example of office life, the fact that you feel like you get so much more done when you work from home, because when you're in the office, you do interact, which is obviously productive in a way.
Well, that's the thing, I will get interrupted a lot, even if it's just sitting next to other manager people, especially like the bookings people and that kind of stuff. And they will want to tell me about something that's just happened. Oh, this client's being really frustrating because whatever. Or something, things like that aren't even to do with my job. And it's I don't even when I'm working from home and my partner interrupts me, I get really frustrated because I'm no, I'm working, let's talk about this later. But in that situation, I don't mind because I feel like I'm learning about other parts of the company, but it's not actually productive to what I'm doing in that moment. So it's not... Yeah, it still takes me an extra half an hour to do a task that would have taken me that extra half an hour if I were at home. So it's it is so basically I was quite ill this week, but as I'm going, I say ill, it was a cold. It was just annoying. It was very congested, which led to just the worst part was the headache. That's just the worst thing ever, because a headache isn't a reason to not work, but it makes everything so much more just I was gonna work in situ at the restaurants Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, and then work from home Thursday and Friday. And on Tuesday I left and my boss said to me, you don't have to come back. You don't have to come in if you're not feeling well, and also feel free to work from home whenever. I think we both know that you probably get more done. And earlier in the day, he'd been asking me loads of questions. And at one point he said but anyway, I'll let you get on back to work because I've just been bothering you for half an hour with loads of questions that probably could have been answered in 5 minutes. So he was using himself as an example of why I would probably get more work done if I was at home.
So true though.
Yeah.
Did you see, I sent you a reel earlier, but I haven't been on Instagram.
Yes, I saw it.
Did you see what I sent you?
Yes,
oh my God, it's so true.
Literally, it's so funny. But and then other people just telling me about their drama or whatever is going on with them just because they want to talk about it. Which is great, because I answered him saying I know, but to begin with I just really wanted to come in as much as possible. I did end up going in the next day because that was Tuesday, and I was going on a Wednesday as well, and Wednesday was actually probably the worst day. And
good example then.
I think it's the first day that I was sat at work going, oh my God, it's only 1 o'clock. I don't know how I'm going to get through. Can it please be 5 o'clock already? And no other day, other days it's been oh my God, it's already 5 o'clock. I've got to go home. But I haven't noticed.
So you were out of your flow.
Very out of my flow. So
For context, I'm going to get people to come onto our YouTube channel because I'm going to show the reel that I sent to Alba this morning. And what it says is, my boss, on the way to ask 26 irrelevant questions, confuse everyone with a new ASAP project, ignore 753 emails, cause chaos, and then go home after 2 p.m.
It is just too funny. It's too funny. And it's literally like that. And the amount of times people keep coming over to me and going this needs to be done. They're but put it on the list to be done after the other things you've got to do. And I'm okay.
Yeah, this is such a big thing. Oh my God, it's a whole topic. Because it's okay, yes, these are things thank you for being the leader and bringing these good ideas of new spontaneous things that make a company go forward. But could you just write them down and make a list and then distribute them amongst the team, or no?
No.
Okay,
no,
right.
No.
We're doing that, are we? Okay, right. Okay. See you.
Literally. But anyway.
Anyway, what are we talking about today?
Well, before I tell you what we're talking about today, even though if you're listening, you already know what it's about. Oh, I've opened Miller Note and it's on my work. Wrong Miller Note. So before I tell you what we're talking about today, I've got some questions for you.
Ooh.
That I want you to answer with a yes, no, or sometimes.
Okay.
This is a kind of game, but it's not particularly fun. I'm just saying before you get too excited.
Okay.
Right.
I have lowered my expectations for the next 5 minutes of my life.
Good. Right. So,
Okay.
when people praise your work, do you tend to think they're exaggerating or don't really understand the full picture?
No.
No. Do you find yourself attributing success to luck, timing, or help rather than to your skill or effort?
A little bit, yeah.
Sometimes, or yes?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Before big tasks or presentations, do you obsess over every possible mistake that could go wrong?
I'm going to say sometimes, because I can really feel myself having gotten better at this over time. But I definitely, before big presentations, absolutely. I wouldn't say I stress about everything that can go wrong, but I do stress about making sure that everything goes right, which is, I guess, comes down to the same thing. Yeah. So let's say sometimes.
Yeah. Do you often feel that you don't deserve your job, promotion, or any acknowledgement that you're getting? So I guess in your case, it'll be more like your job that you're doing or promotion.
Nah, I owned that. I worked hard.
Do you over-prepare, do extra work, or work harder than others to feel safe or justified?
I don't think so, no.
Does asking for help or admitting that you don't know something feel like admitting weakness?
No.
Do you feel pressure to hide mistakes or vulnerabilities so others don't see you as a fraud, in quotation marks?
I don't think so.
No?
Let's go sometimes.
And last one. Do you often worry that success is temporary and that you will eventually be exposed as incompetent?
God. I'm going to go no.
Okay. So you did 5 no's and 3 sometimes. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, exactly. So you have got mostly no. So you might occasionally experience imposter thoughts, but they are rare or mild. So as a whole, you don't suffer with imposter syndrome too much. It might sneak in sometimes.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So imposter syndrome is what we're talking about today. And that's let's start with that. How do you feel about imposter syndrome? Is this something that you have experienced?
Oh, wow. This is a massive topic. First of all, did you answer those questions yourself?
I kind of did in my head. I haven't written down though, but I would say it's probably similar to you. There might have been one yes or something somewhere in there. But I think in general, like you say, I feel like I've also gotten better at not feeling some of these things. But I do still have moments of who am I to be doing this or, kind of also I'm almost feeling it again more now that I'm at work.
Now that you're
like I had it and then
I
I stopped having it and now I feel like I have it a little bit again sometimes. So it was quite interesting. It's one of the reasons that I chose this topic for today. And then doing the research for it and like how to kind of thrive despite feeling this. There was quite a lot of things that I felt like I was maybe already doing to kind of like jerk myself out of it kind of thing. So that was interesting. But yeah, I would say it's definitely kind of up and down. It's not like
absolutely
I used to and I don't anymore. It's not. Yeah, I'm not cured.
For sure. I mean, I think it's a massive, massive topic that I really enjoy talking about. So I'm going to enjoy this episode. Feel free to cut me off when I start rambling. But I think for context, we both have almost 4 years of experience now in like the working world in some way, shape or form.
4 or 5 years.
And I can definitely say that the answer to those questions, I would say, have been what I answered now for maybe a year. Like a bit like you, I'd gotten really confident in my previous role as like an employee for a company, and then moving into the startup world more as an entrepreneur. And then it's like, who am I to be doing this? And like I won a pitching competition last year. And even now when I talk about it, I totally talk myself down. Like, it's ridiculous. And I only realized this because I was talking to my intern about it. And I was like, they basically voted for me because I speak English. And he was like, what are you on about? That's such bullshit.
I remember you saying that. I remember you telling me that. It was really good. Like when I was asking you for things about pitching, and you were like, when the one I did, and they were like really like for me because I could speak English really well. So you've said it on this podcast. I
think that. But like, I did also have a bit of merit, you know. Yeah. I did it well. I was enthusiastic. I mean, I did the other things but realizing that, it's not easy, you know, realizing where you do bring value and what you are good at. Yeah. It's not easy to do. So I think that really comes with experience and kind of seeing other people in the working world and identifying, oh, wow, actually, I'm able to maintain that conversation, or they've actually found what I just said quite insightful, or, you know, things like that. Yeah. Or what I did worked.
Yeah. Which also, like you saying that, like, I feel like when that happens to me, I still kind of like, I'm like, oh, really? You like
Did I just say something interesting?
Should I keep talking about that?
I think this is a very good introduction to the topic. Yeah. But like, I'd say that these days, because of that, how I've answered those questions, I don't think I experience so much imposter syndrome, and I think that's probably what's changed the most since I started working, is realizing like I am just as good as everybody else, and I can do everything just as well as everybody else, pretty much. Yeah. And if I put my mind to it, and I think that's. God, it was not my view on the world when I started working. Yeah. And you're like second guess everything, and you're like, I don't know what the rules are, and how could I possibly do this work? I have no idea how people do it. Like, it's like, nobody cares how people do it. Yeah. Just do it how you want to do it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, obviously there are industries where I imagine you do need to follow some rules, like don't, you know, medical industry and things like this. But I had this conversation actually with my intern recently about the world is just people kind of trying to get things done. Yeah. And figuring it out. And there really aren't that many rules. Obviously, as a species, we do like to make rules to make things work properly. But you can try and figure out your own way to do things. And often it might even be better than what's kind of the norm and what we think we have to attest to when we start working. We're like, oh, how do people do this? How do people send emails? How am I supposed to say goodbye in my emails? And all of this thing. Like, obviously, we all do the same to not be weird. But honestly, you could do whatever you want as long as it's respectful. If it works,
that's
then
the
why
thing.
not? You know?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I feel like more than rules, you kind of just figure out what works and what doesn't, and just kind of go with that. As in, even you yourself figure out what, you know, works. It's definitely, I think we even say it in like the description to this podcast, I think, of like, just nobody's got it figured out. And it's kind of feels like everyone does, and you're the imposter, and that everyone kind of is in on this thing that, you're not in on. And that's not the case. But a lot of kind of what I've written down, I watched a really good TED Talk from someone called Valerie Young. And she made some really, really interesting points. And one of the things that she said is that it's got to do with how you think. So you are someone who can feel like an imposter, or you're not. And kind of, if you are in the group that can, then it's we'll talk about afterwards kind of like how to get through that, but it's can kind of sneak back, but it can be a bit like you either have it or you don't sort of thing. And it's because it comes down to confidence, she says.
Of course, yeah.
But before we carry on talking, we're going to just, in case you don't know what imposter syndrome is, we're going to just...
Great for you.
Great for you. A little definition here for you. Imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern of self-doubt where individuals doubt their skills, talents, or achievements and have a persistent internal fear of being exposed as a fraud, despite evidence of their competence and success, which I think is like a really important part. Like you have reason to be there and to know, like, Valerie Young started the TED Talk by saying something like, I once met someone who said, if I can get a PhD in astrophysics from Caltech, then anybody can do it. And that's like imposter syndrome, like right there. Like, what do you mean? Like, and that's something that I feel like so many people, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And that is imposter syndrome, just because you can do it doesn't mean that anybody can do it.
And I would say like getting over imposter syndrome, maybe like inversing that sentence. Like, if anybody can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Something I used to think, or I used to say, that maybe was me trying to like make sense of my world, and again relating it specifically to my situation, but I feel like it may be applicable everywhere. I used to think that engineers especially, I felt that they were prone to imposter syndrome because when you go through an engineering degree, you basically learn so much, like so many little different things in such a wide domain of life, basically, that when you finish your degree, or at least this is how I feel, and I think most of the people that studied engineering around me would agree with, you didn't really feel like you knew enough about anything to actually get anything done.
Yeah.
But what
you were
learned,
an expert in anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like in Spanish, in our engineering like school, we would say poco de mucho, mucho de nada, which is a little bit of lots, but lots of nothing. So you don't learn a lot about anything in particular.
Yeah.
But you learn a little bit about many, 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 many things. So basically, when you finish your engineering degree, you are an expert at learning, basically, which is what is then really useful as an engineer in life. Because, yeah, there are some engineers that go into like technical roles, but lots of engineers end up as like project managers and, people that need to kind of understand a little bit of everything to be able to make sense of everything.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you start your first job, you don't feel like you're useful for anything. Like, give me some maths to do and I'll do it. But
that's about it.
But
yeah.
I think, tell me about what that was like for you as coming from like a more of a, I guess, creative role,
it's kind of the same thing in the degree that I studied, because we studied audiovisual communication, and I was telling someone about it the other day. They're like, oh, and what did you like what did you do in that degree? And I was like, literally everything. So we did like history of photography, history of film, we did production, we did script writing, we did directing, we did creative photography, we did sound, we did animation, we did graphic design, journalism, PR. Like, we did a little bit, like an introduction to absolutely anything that you could think of to do with the audiovisual world. So you finish and you're like, I now know a little bit about all these things. I then focused on branding, but it's kind of the same feeling of like, I'm not qualified to do anything. And I had this even more when I did like my internship, like halfway through in the summer, halfway through at some point of my degree. And thinking, I'm so ready. I've done 2 years of uni. I think I've already said in this podcast, I cried like the first week because I was like, they've taught me nothing. And I think
what a useless degree.
Useless and everything. It's because there's obviously a learning process to every job, and but it's, I think also with the creative side, it's even more of you can feel like an imposter in the sense of it's so subjective that it's like, and it's also like you're saying engineering. There are things in engineering that you couldn't do if you didn't have a certain base, if you didn't have. Whereas pick up a camera and take a photo.
Equation.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone could do, better or worse, on automatic or manual, but anybody can pick up a camera and take a photo. So I think there's even more that sense of like, why am I charging 200 for a photo shoot or 2,000 for a photo shoot or whatever? Like, what makes
who am I?
Yeah, exactly. There's almost more, because it's like it's something intangible that you can study for 10 years and still not be a good photographer, or you can be a good photographer without ever going to uni. So I feel like there's like another layer of like anybody can do it.
Absolutely.
That you have to like be like, no, but like how I do it, people like. And I guess that's kind of, I guess at the end of the day, it's any job. If you're good at it, you're good at it. And you've either had to study more for it or less for it. But yeah.
I wonder if there are like roles or studies that are less prone to imposter syndrome. Or is it just purely on the person? Maybe we're going to get into that.
I've got a little thing. It kind of like stumbled upon it, and then I was like, oh, that interests me. And it was the roots of imposter syndrome. Like, when did this come about and why and how? So it was actually a term that was first introduced in 1978, and it was actually called the imposter phenomenon, not syndrome. And it was psychologist Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, in their paper, The Imposter Phenomenon in High Achieving Women. Why can't I speak? High Achieving Women, Dynamics and Therapeutic Intervention. So they had observed that many high achieving women, despite, like I said before, having all this evidence of, having success and knowing what they were doing, believed that they were intellectual frauds and feared being exposed. And they described it as an internal experience of intellectual phoniness. And like these two psychologists at first thought it was just like very specific to women. But then the more they did, women, and especially women who were high achievers and had like societal pressures. But then they expanded their research and saw that it did basically it didn't seem to care about gender or anything, essentially, that it did just kind of come up. And something that I thought was really interesting is that they called it phenomenon and not syndrome, because they were trying to normalize it as an experience and not make it a diagnosis.
Yeah, actually, I thought of that just as soon as you said it. I thought that's such a nicer way to put it. Like, this is something that people go through. Yeah. You're not crazy.
It's an experience. It's not something that's wrong with you. And I actually didn't then carry on looking into why it got changed to syndrome. God knows. But I just thought imposter phenomenon. What? You're going to say?
I just said men.
Oh, probably. But yes, I thought that was interesting. So they were studying high achieving women, and a lot of them kept coming up with the same thing of basically feeling like they were going to be called frauds. They, like in that article from 1978 and then a lot afterwards, it is something that more than depending on the job, it's more depending on how high up you get in the chain. So when you are in a, really low paying job, kind of like, can't get demoted to anything, people don't really feel it there. And then the more they get promoted to a manager, they get promoted to a, director, to a whatever, they start to feel it more and more and more of being like, why me? Why do I deserve this?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like when you feel like, how deserving are you of this? So I guess lots of people feel more deserving than like the base salary job at a checkout. They're like, oh, I could do better than this.
Yeah.
So I guess there they don't really feel it that much. Whereas the more you go up and the more you like, do I deserve this role?
The more
what did I do
people
to get here?
see you and like acknowledge that you're doing well, you're like, am I though? Are you sure? Me?
If only you knew. I think that's the thing that goes through most people's mind.
Yeah.
Like the people that do experience imposter syndrome is like when somebody says, oh, you're doing such an amazing job. The first thing you think of is, if only you knew, like, what it's actually like.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely still a sucker for that.
Yeah.
Like, if only, it's easy, you know?
Yeah,
Like, if only you knew
100%.
how much I'm struggling or how much work it takes, or I don't know.
Yeah. Like just today, for example, it was really lovely. Someone from my job said to me, by the way, I just wanted to say you're doing a really good job. And I was like, thank you. Like that
So sweet.
means so much to hear that. And I think it is because everyone feels that as there is such a backlog in everything that I'm doing, it is constant asking for more. And something gets done and that's great, but like on the next thing, because there's such a long to-do list. So she was just like asking me for things and we need this and we need this. Oh, and have you done this yet? And she was like, by the way, you're doing a really good job. I just thought I'd say. And I was like, thank you.
It's so important though.
So
it's
important.
Like,
we've talked
number
about that
one.
before.
Yeah.
I don't know what episode it was that we talked about.
I think it was probably management episode.
Probably.
Because it's such a big, and I really, really make a point of it because I see people that are in managing roles around me.
Yeah.
They are constantly thinking of, okay, the work is
next.
done. How can we make it better? Yeah. How can we make it better? What do we move on to now? And just like recognizing or acknowledging the work that has been done. God, it can make such a difference in how you then interact with that person, with that employee or that worker.
100%. So what we were saying of like if we're experiencing it right now and how we're doing with imposter syndrome at the moment, I feel like I had a really interesting moment when I got this job because it was like, I can't believe I got it. But at the same time,
It's made for me.
Yeah, I've worked hard for this. I know I can do it well. This is going to be good. And it was more that than really me. That was there. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but there was more. Yes, like this is good and I deserve this and this is going to go well than the other, you know?
We've come so far, Bean. I'd love to talk to like the us just having graduated from university and be like, girl, you got this.
Yeah, totally.
Go out and get them.
Totally.
So if you're at that stage, listener,
Yes.
if you are just finishing university or in your first 5 years of job basically that can last, know that you've got this and future you is like, you're doing amazing.
Yeah.
Even though you don't believe it now, no matter what you're doing and at what level, you're doing a really good job.
Yeah, exactly. Also, so what I was saying at the beginning that like you kind of have imposter syndrome or you don't, as in you can be prone to it or not, essentially, is what I mean by that. It is very common. And there's so many, like I was trying to look up some stats, but there's so many like different parameters to like try and like test this. There isn't really, but basically like a stat that kept coming up and was like in different places is that at least 70% of people have felt it once at some point in their life. It might be something that there's some people who struggle with it constantly on a day-to-day basis, other people who it is just a momentary thing, whatever. Some people have never felt it and then suddenly they get the promotion of their lives and they feel it in that moment. Some people never feel it. But yeah, it is a common thing. So it's not like you're
not a
the
syndrome.
imposter. Yeah, it's not a syndrome. That's the first thing. Yes, exactly. Let's change it to imposter phenomenon, please.
If Alba can pronounce it.
Phenomenon. I also saw that I thought it might be interesting to include that there's imposter types. So it's kind of different personality types that might be more prone to feeling the imposter phenomenon. So we have the perfectionist, where
Raise your hand.
Yeah, where you set impossibly high standards, and a mistake equals failure, and you never feel satisfied. So it's like if you don't get things perfect, then it must be because you're an imposter and you don't deserve it. Then you've got the expert who is constantly feeling like they don't know enough. So then they will just always be trying to learn and research even when they're already qualified, but they feel like they're not. They feel like they're underqualified. So they will always be trying to, do that extra research.
Did we talk on the podcast about the learning curve? I think we did. If you don't remember, then it was because I talked to somebody else about it. But like,
it sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
It's the basically the phenomenon of what you're describing. Like when you first learn something, you start at the bottom of how much you feel like you know. So you start at the bottom and then you learn and you're like, damn, I'm becoming like an expert. And then you get to a point where you're like, actually, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
And then it starts going up gradually. So I guess that's the people that are like on this bit.
Yeah.
Starting to go up a little bit by bit.
And then we've got the superhuman, where you feel the pressure to do it all and you want to work hard, you want to perform, you want to deliver, and you take on excessive workloads to prove your worth. Which when I read that, I was like, damn.
Damn. Life before and after reading that.
Then we've got the natural genius, and they believe that competence should come naturally, so that if you struggle, you feel like you're a fraud. Like it's something that you feel like you should be able to just do, essentially. If it's hard, then maybe I'm not cut out for this vibe. And then lastly, the soloist. You feel like asking for help is a sign of weakness. You believe you must do everything independently. Their thought pattern could be something like, I can't reach out, they'll think I don't deserve to be here. Which,
yeah, it's like when you're in class, when you're a kid, and you're scared to ask the question that you have in your head.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, it's a stupid question.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask it.
Yeah.
Dude, ask the question.
Ask the question. Ask the question. Admit you don't know something. It's absolutely fine. But it's not hard, especially when someone's looking at you as the expert and you're like, do I pretend I know, or do I admit I have no clue what they're talking about right now?
Totally.
Yeah. And it's definitely, it can go through because you feel like I should know this. Again, that's the imposter saying that. Like, it's fine, we're human, it's impossible to know everything. But sometimes that's not how it feels. I was going back and forth whether to add that or not, but I thought it was just interesting because, it just goes to show, I feel like a lot of those are things that we can very quickly identify with. And then I feel like understanding that can then maybe help with feeling less of an imposter. Something that I saw is that feeling imposter syndrome essentially is the feelings come from thoughts, and the thoughts in your head, the way to get around it is basically by reframing them. So if you, like, I saw this example where it was like somebody threw this presentation together, or PowerPoint or whatever it was, like the day before, and then delivered this amazing speech, and everyone was like, wow, you're amazing. And, she was like, no, I'm an imposter because I only did this the day before. So to reframe that to be, I'm so good at what I do that I was able
I only needed
to
24 hours.
I only needed 24 hours, essentially. Like, not everything has to be a struggle. And it's all about reframing. And then how you feel is always going to kind of change last. Like, it's going to be the hardest thing to change. But if you kind of like tell your brain and then just kind of like convince yourself of that, like if you're like, carrying on the presentation example, if you've got this big presentation and you're feeling really terrified, instead of saying that, just say that you're excited, and you're still going to not feel confident and not feel, up for it, but just keep telling yourself that you're actually excited, and eventually your body will kind of go changing to the feel. It will stop feeling so, it'll start feeling more confident, less
we spoke
terrified.
about this in another episode. How we used to do this when we were kids, when we were going to go on stage and dance. Yeah. And our mums would be like, oh, I'm so nervous. No, you're not. You're excited.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right, Mum.
Yeah. Maybe I am excited.
But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So you just need to be your own mum.
Exactly. Because, yeah, basically the only difference that there is between people who feel like imposters and don't is their thoughts, because no one likes to fail and all those things that we think will happen if we don't, you know, live up to whatever we think we're supposed to be living up to. But the difference with people with imposter syndrome or feeling imposter syndrome is that they also feel shame on top of it. There's that I should have not made that mistake, or I should do better, or I should know better, or whatever. And it's that shame that makes it imposter syndrome versus not. Because, yeah, nobody's going to sit there and be like, well, I made a mistake, but I'm happy about it. But it's if you then go, I shouldn't have made that mistake. That's that imposter syndrome. Like, why are you putting that extra pressure? Yeah.
Why have you got glitter on your face?
Because I was holding this pen that was on my desk, and I've been playing with it as I talk, and it's silver and it comes off, so I've got it all over my hand. I used to see glitter on my hand, and I must have touched my face and I've got it all over my face. Always.
Come and watch us on YouTube. See glitter on Alba's face.
With all of this that we're saying, essentially, to be able to kind of move away from feeling that imposter syndrome, I feel like if you're someone who has that kind of inkling, it to completely go away is difficult. But with like changing thought patterns, you can slowly go moving towards, instead of having an imposter life, if you are someone who struggles from it in that kind of degree, to just having an imposter moment, which is what we were talking about before, going from syndrome to phenomenon. And that means that, yeah, you have a moment where you kind of go, oh my God. And I think that's just human as well. Like, obviously there's people out there who don't have those moments, and that's absolutely fine. But I think it is so common to just have a pinch me moment of like, me, you know, I
mean, it's humility as well, isn't it? It's like, wow, look at where I am.
Yeah.
That's like pretty cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, feeling a little bit of humility is it's not too bad.
No. Talking a little bit about how it can just affect your work and mental health in your work, because it has been proven, obviously, that feeling imposter syndrome in the workplace can lead to really real things like overworking, like we said before, anxiety. A really important one is reluctance to take risks, which kind of ties in with one of the previous episodes we were talking about, when you were feeling
risk averse.
Yeah.
Lonely,
it was loneliness. Yeah. It's like you were saying before, of not wanting to put your hand up in class.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally that. You don't want to take that risk.
And how many times did you have that question in your head? You didn't put your hand up. I think this happened to me once every day. And then somebody else would ask the question, and the teacher would be like, that's a really good question.
Yeah. And you were like,
damn it, I should have asked the question. That's my question. So if you'd taken the risk, you would have gotten the approval, the praise of your teacher, which when you're a student, that's
all you want.
Could ever wish for.
Yeah.
At least when we were students,
especially
that's maybe not for everybody.
I was going to say, I don't even know if it's when we were students. I think just us.
Yeah, exactly,
because we are type A. And then also things like procrastination. And all of these things are things that is not good if your employees are feeling. Obviously, if they're not taking risk, if they're procrastinating, if they're overworking, if they're anxious, it's not going to lead to a good, like with everything that we're talking about in this season, I feel like it's not only not good for you, it's not good for your boss, it's not good for your company either. In the TED Talk of Valerie Young, they actually asked her a couple of questions at the end of it, and one of them was, what can managers do if they do feel like their employees are feeling this way? And I was like, ooh, ears up. And she answered, the best thing that they can do is normalize it and talk about it, and just, it's okay to feel like that. It's normal. And if someone is saying, if you notice it, then that one of your employees is maybe, you know that they can do better, essentially, and you feel like they're holding back or whatever, is to not just say it's nothing, but to talk about it. Imposter syndrome like that.
Maybe bring it up in general, like not necessarily applied to
that
them.
person. No, exactly.
It's really interesting because, God, I hope I've been talking a lot about my intern, and he actually knows that I do a podcast. So let's hope he doesn't listen to it. I told him not to.
Well, now he's definitely going to, isn't he?
Because something that I've noticed, I mean, he's really confident, and that really plays in his favor, because then, you know, the first thing I said to him when he first started was challenge anything you see. Like, I was trying to get, I guess in a way I was trying to avoid the imposter syndrome. I was like, your opinion is absolutely valid, even though you've just started. I want you to challenge anything you see that you don't agree with or don't understand. Go for it, challenge it. And he really took that on, and he has been doing it, and it's brilliant. Something he still does is he'll like express his opinion, and then he'll be like, but like maybe that's me that doesn't know the whole story, you know? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Your opinion is valid. If you're missing something, I will let you know.
Exactly.
So I feel like obviously you're not always in a situation to be like, stop saying that. But it does show a little bit of who am I to say this, you know? Like kind of protecting yourself against.
I think the thing with imposter syndrome is that you can, like kind of with anything that we're talking about in this season, you kind of take it to the extreme, but you see it show up in little tiny little ways, like sprinkled in lots of different areas and different ways of saying things and different ways of kind of acting and stuff. And it's so much better to just nip it in the bud and be like, no, like you're saying, you know, don't. It is important. It is valid. I wanted to look into, but I kind of forgot when I was doing the research, and totally went out my head. But at one point, I was it was when the stat of 70% of people have felt imposter syndrome at some point. I wanted to look into if there was any reason why you might feel imposter syndrome and why you might not. Like, is that just something that's, if it is linked to confidence? I think
it's definitely, I would say it's definitely linked to confidence, because the people that you see struggle with it the most are definitely people that struggle to like feel like they're worthy of anything in general. Yeah. If it's linked to feeling like you're in the place that you deserve and that you've worked hard to get there and blah, blah, blah. I would also say, I don't know if you've got a stat about this, that it's way more common in women.
Yeah, so there was stuff like I said, when I was trying to get some stats, they were very all over the place, because basically every study started with something like, this is how we've measured it, but there's lots of other ways to measure it as well, because it is such a subjective thing. And some of them were saying that women are much more like affected. Like, it was something like, in one of the studies I saw, it was saying that something like 64% of women have felt it at some point versus 40% of men. So there's obviously quite a big gap there, 25% almost. But yeah, like, there was nothing like concrete enough. It always depends on the person, but I think as a general whole, it wouldn't be like too out of this realm to say that. I believe that as well. Talking to other women and such definitely show more signs of struggling to just pat themselves on the back and say, I did a good job, and not, oh, I was so lucky, which is very thinly like hidden little sprinkle of
100%
imposter syndrome. And just
I mean, I think that's what I was thinking of when you mentioned how changing your mindset can really help. And I think that's one of the things that has made a big difference for me. Is I would often say, I'm in this really great life situation, but I've been so lucky. And luckily I have people in my life that have kind of said to me, I mean, yeah, of course you haven't been unlucky, but you've also worked really hard to get yourself where you are. Yeah. And like it's just not something you necessarily realize yourself. No. Obviously, you know that you've worked really hard and that you've struggled in it, but like attributing that to success. Yeah. Whereas if you then force yourself, or have people around you that say it, and then force yourself to like kind of think that, even though you don't really believe it. Yeah. Over time, you're like, actually, no, yeah, you're right. I did do that thing that time, and I did work hard on that pitch, and I did, you know. And I can see how that can change your mindset and kind of bring you away from such bad imposter syndrome.
100%. And how we were saying before, how important it is to, in work, to be acknowledged for the things that you are doing right. I think we do this to ourselves a lot where, you know, like how many, I don't know if I just see this because this is the kind of content that comes up for me, but like I see so often things like, I've been working so hard to achieve like my next goal that I haven't even realized that I already achieved everything that I wanted to as a 18-year-old or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And it's true. We don't really like look back on like, it's just like we live very in the now and in the future, and to look back and be like, no, wait a minute. I actually did manage to, you know, I have done this, and this. Even just like, you know, traveled to these really cool places, and like just not even in a business sense, just like as a person, how much personal development has there been? A lot. But we don't kind of stop and do that kind of reflection.
It's such an important life thing. Like just today, it's so funny because just today, randomly, okay, I was at work, and usually when I'm at work, I have my hour's lunch break. I go down, I eat my food that I brought in, or I go and find some food. And I do something like maybe I'll prepare a podcast episode, or I'll watch a YouTube video, or I'm usually doing something relatively productive because, as you will have listened to our last episode, that's anyway. And today, my partner was going to have brunch with one of his friends that was actually close to the campus. And by the time that I was on my lunch break, I sent him a message that he was like, yeah, we've already eaten, but like not that long ago, as they spent loads of time cooking. Anyway, they were having brunch at lunchtime. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to come. Like, it was a bit out of my way, blah, 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 but I was going to come. And so I had this brilliant, you know, brunch in the middle of my day, got to see people that I like. And then I went back to work. And on my walk back to work, because I wasn't fully in my like be productive mode that I always am on my lunch break, on my way back, because I had to go back to the office, I was like, this is the life that I have dreamt of. You know, having a job that I enjoy, being able to take time and spend it with people that I love, and eat good food, and live in this beautiful place that I'm now walking through back to office. Like, this is so cool. And it's not often that you have one of those moments. And in fact, I think there's a lot of people that don't even have those moments at all. No. And it's that awareness of where you are as opposed to where you've been and what your objectives were. You got there.
And it's so hard to 100%. And it's hard to like take a step back and see your own situation because you're in it. It's the same as when you're going through something good or bad. It can be really hard to kind of think about it objectively because you're in it, you're feeling it, so you're not looking at the big picture. So to like take a step back and like look at it all and be like, oh, this is actually amazing. And I am doing it, I'm living it, and you know, this is like, I also had one of those moments today actually. I wonder if it was around the same time. Can you imagine? It was
it like around what would have been,
it was like 11:30ish my time.
Okay. You got it a little bit before me.
A little bit before.
An hour before me. You sent me the brainwaves. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
So for me, it was also not work related. It was just kind of general. Today, I worked from home, which meant I got to take my lovely dog for a nice walk. It was coming back, and there was people like looking over at the house next door, like obviously making some plans or something. And I like looked over at them, and it was like really lovely. It was sunny. It was cold and stuff. And I don't know. I like looked at like where I was about to walk into, what I was, you know, not just the house I'm living in, but also the work I was about to get back to and what I was coming from. And like, it was a really like, oh, this is so cool. Like I'm living in a really cool place that I'm wanting to live in for a while. I'm walking my beautiful dog. I'm coming back to a job I really like. I've just come back from a walk. Like, I don't know. It was like a lot of things that, again, if you don't have those moments of like stepping out, it's so easy to like just get caught up in the normally work, you know, is what kind of gets you all
whether
caught
that's
up.
Like, work as in a business sense and what pays the bills sense, or like personal work or like self-growth, which is so in fashion now. Everybody's making themselves better, and like everything you do is with the objective of getting you to a life situation, which you're probably already in.
Yeah.
You're in that situation that
Exactly.
you were working towards a couple years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We're so connected.
I know. I love it. Oh, it's so funny that we both had like a moment like that today. I wonder, I was also thinking about the episode, so I wonder if that brought it on for me at any, like not in that moment, but just in general. I was thinking that we were going to talk about all this stuff
Maybe me
today.
too, actually. I mean, we spoke about this in our last episode. I feel like I've had so much personal growth
Yeah.
doing this. Like,
Yeah.
more than, like, if that could bring an ounce, a little, teeny little bit to any of our listeners,
Yeah.
that it has brought me just doing it. Like, it was worth it for 0 listeners. I have learned so much, and I've gotten so much more empowered of like how I feel and why I feel it and blah blah blah.
100%. So yeah, that was imposter syndrome. I feel like I could have talked about even more things, but yeah, that's a nice little introduction to imposter syndrome, and that you can have imposter moments, and that is just part of life. It's absolutely fine. So yeah, I think the biggest tip for anyone going through imposter syndrome that I can think of is to try and catch yourself in the moment when you're thinking it, and try and reframe that thought into, rather than how am I doing this, it's I am doing this and look how cool that is, and slowly that will fade away, and it almost serves as a cool reminder, like if you're like,
Look how far I've come.
exactly, which is always fun.
And talk about it. Talk about it if you
Talk
can.
about it. Yeah.
With anybody, even if it's like unknown people online, that's fine. You're not alone, and just figuring that out makes you feel a lot less like an imposter.
Yeah. Being aware of all the cool things that you have achieved, rather than just looking forward at the things that you want to achieve, which is good.
But it comes back to what we were talking about last week as well. It's all interconnected.
It's all connected.
We're giving you life bases. Yeah, I mean, it's about realizing what you have done rather than what you still have to do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's fine to think about, but think about the other things too. So, So yeah, we hope you enjoyed this.
I certainly did.
Good. And we will see you next week. Do you want to give an insight into what we're talking about next week?
Yes. So it's a bit less of a businessy topic, I would say. And it's going to be lots of questions for Alba that I can then relate to. Do you know what we're talking about, or is it a surprise for you?
I do know, because the folder was made when I was making my one.
Oh, true. You made it. We're going to talk about relocating, whether that be for work or also for studies, kind of at any point of your life, and the different perspectives, because we've lived very different situations.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that.
I'm excited for it. Cool. We'll see you there.
See you there.
Bye.